Hey everybody, it's me, Cindy, and I'm back. I'm ready to tell you about story number 6, and so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, so story number 6. This story is about me and my mom mainly. This happened when I was about 5, maybe 6 years old. I don't remember my age to be exact, but this story started out with my mom and dad were fighting a lot during the day, and my parents had a very they had a very hard time with using words instead of physical violence. So my parents used to get in fist fights quite often. It was not uncommon for them to hit each other, and let's just say it was not wonderful to watch all the time. So this particular day, I have no idea what they were fighting about, but they were fighting all day, and I just remember them pretty much screaming. They would scream at each other. There was no talking. They didn't sit down and have like a normal civilized conversation when they had something that they disagreed on. So this particular day, it was just back and forth arguing for like 6 hours, and I don't know what triggered it, but they got in a physical altercation. I remember my mom getting so pissed that she picked up this old school cigarette, the glass cigarette holders they used to have. They used to be like this big, and they were solid, like crystal looking stuff. Anyways, that was our ashtray, and my mom totally picked this ashtray up and flung it. She flung it at my dad. I'm pretty sure it hit him in the face, so he was pretty pissed about that, and they got in a physical altercation where they beat the shit out of each other. After that, my dad stormed out of the house. My uncle wasn't home, so it was just me and my mom. My mom had went and took a bath, and I remember kind of picking up the ashtray while she was in the bathtub. She had turned all the lights out, so it was fairly dark in the house, and after that we went into the kitchen. I remember that she had been cooking a big pot of beans all day, and at this point in time my mom had gotten a knife out of her drawer, and I don't remember what she said in that moment. I just remember her kind of making like this weird sound, and she stood there for several minutes, and it was silent, and we didn't say anything, but she turned around, and she had taken the knife and she had stabbed it into her stomach. She was bleeding, and I just remember totally freaking out, and I ran over to her, and she just kept saying, "It slipped, I fell into the stove, and the knife went in my stomach. It was an accident, I'm so sorry." And she was crying, and I just remember freaking out, and I was trying to figure out what was happening. And when I lifted up her shirt, there was a lot of blood, and she was bleeding, and she kind of fell to the ground. I don't know if it was like just an overwhelming feeling of emotions that was going through, or that she was feeling everything that just happened. But I just remember being so scared, because even though my mom did a lot of bad stuff. She was my favorite person at that point in time, and I wanted to always be around her. I was very attached to her. So as soon as I seen her drop to the floor, I ran across the street from the apartment complex, and they had a laundromat over there with a payphone. And I remember picking up the payphone and calling 911. And I told them that my mom was very hurt and her stomach was bleeding and somebody needed to come right away and help her. And I remember dropping the phone and sitting next to the payphone and just crying and crying and crying because I thought I wasn't going to see my mom again. I think I knew deep down that it wasn't an accident. My mom was so overwhelmed and so done with her life that she tried to take her own life. So she plunged it into her own stomach, and it was several minutes later, a cop came into the laundromat area and found me, and they started asking me all these questions, and the main one was what happened. And I told them that she tripped and the knife kind of just accidentally stuck in her stomach. And he took me over to the house where my dad was just pulling up and got home, and my mom was put in the ambulance and they didn't let me go with them. I think my dad got to go with them, and by that point I think my uncle and my dad may have been together because I ended up staying home with him. But ultimately, obviously, my mom survived this situation, but she literally tried to commit suicide in front of my face. And it was terrifying. It was lonely. I remember feeling helpless. I didn't know what to do. But I do remember when the police officer that found me was going back to his squad car, he crouched down and looked me straight in the eyes and told me, "You were so brave, and you just saved your mom's life." So I saved my mom's life, and that wouldn't be the only time in my life that I had to save her life. It was something that happened a lot. It was very painful. It was terrifying, and I don't wish any child to ever go through that. So, from that moment, I don't think I really ever took anything positive from it, to be honest. It was just something that happened, something I had to deal with, knowing that my mom was suicidal. It made me fear for her more. I believe that that's why I enjoyed being with her so much and I loved her so much, was not just because she was my mom, but because I felt obligated to be the one who watched her. I was always worried about what was happening with her, and I always wanted to be around her because if I was there, I knew what was happening. And I think I had this weird complex when I was little that I could save and protect my mom, which in reality I never could. But knowing that I was there always made me feel comforted and safer because, I was there to protect her. And it's so sad that I have to say that, because it is not a child's job to be responsible for their parents. Their parents are supposed to love them and take care of them and make sure that they have a happy life. They're not supposed to show them the worst, most evil parts of being a human being, because suicide, unfortunately, is very common, and it's a horrible thing that takes people's lives because people feel they have nothing else to give. They feel worthless and cold and alone. And it's horrible that she had to feel that way. And I wish that things were different, because when she wasn't drunk or using alcohol or trying to commit suicide, she was actually a really wonderful person. She had a really big heart when she was sober. She was kind and fun, but I think the world and the weight of the world just was too heavy on her, and she just couldn't take it anymore. And so she tried to take her own life. And it was very hard to watch. So if you feel that you are down in the dumps and you feel worthless and you don't think that your life is worth living anymore, just stop and think about all the people that you do have in your life, and think about how they would feel if you chose to go through with it. So if you're ever in that situation and you're feeling that way, I encourage you to please reach out to somebody and let them know. There is a lot of help out there. And if you can't afford it, then you are more than welcome to send a message into my inbox, and I will talk it all through with you. I have no problem with that. Everybody needs somebody to listen to them. And sometimes it helps if it's a third-party person that doesn't know you, because they don't know your life or other people to really judge you for your mistakes or what you've done. They just know what you're telling them, and they get to listen and really hear what it is that you're feeling and try and help you work through that. I say that because there's been several times in my life that I have felt the need to leave this world. Suicide has crossed my mind several times in my lifetime, simply because I got to a point where I was so overwhelmed and could not handle my emotions or feelings, and I couldn't handle the sadness anymore. I couldn't handle all the baggage that I had. But every time that I've felt that way, I would reach out to my friends or my husband, and ultimately, me doing this YouTube video was part of my therapy. I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing it to save my own self and try and make myself stronger. So if you're in this situation ever, please, please, please reach out to somebody, because it's actually way more common than people think. And this was my story. And I hope that somebody can take something from this and make themselves better. And it honestly felt really good to share this, because I have not told, I don't think, anyone ever this story. This is the first time I'm actually revealing it to anyone, really. It was one of those things, my mom told me, what stays at home stays at home, or what happens at home stays at home, sorry. So, yeah, that's that. This is my story number 6, and I really hope that it helps somebody. And I'm here as always. You can follow me on my Instagram and message me there if you have any questions or need to talk. All right. Bye.